Yo, what is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown, episode 455. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
Sup, people? How's it going?
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Carlos Romero.
Yo, man, I'm in a room with a bunch of nerds.
Brett Murdoch.
He's just figuring this out now.
And Brian Manjoma.
I just learned that Superman used to use guns.
Yes, now you know. And something kind of fun, even though the MP3 people won't hear this, I actually didn't have any of that muted. I'm glad we didn't say any racist shit. Everybody heard. You guys got to hear some going back to the day conversation about Superman. I forgot I didn't mute any of us. This is the kind of shit we talk about before the show, people.
You want to hear behind the scenes? It's just more of this.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, literally, this is all we talk about, just nerd shit.
Just nerds.
So I'm glad you guys enjoyed that, and thank you, Brett, for asking that. I'm glad we didn't say some crazy shit.
That's because we're honorable people. We don't say crazy shit at all. What are you talking about?
I've never heard you say any crazy shit, Tony.
Yeah, Mighty Nerds, that's what we heard you guys talk about Superman. Yeah, I just realized that now. But it's cool. It was a fun conversation. I'm glad you guys got to hear that, you know?
Yeah, there you go.
Superman. Anyway, man, this week, gaming, bunch of nonsense. Not much happened this week.
Nah, man. People are too busy playing Assassin's Creed and the Lies of P.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't Assassin's Creed just come out?
Did it come out yet? Yeah, I did, but I don't know if the game's... I think it's out now. Because, you know, the embargo lifts before the game comes out.
Oh, God damn it. It's like, dude, bro, I'm not anywhere near being able to take on another game right now. And Spider-Man's that right around the corner.
Yeah, Spider-Man's the 20th. That's close. I've been playing
I'm not gonna have time to get Assassin's Creed in there. And when the fuck am I gonna play Baldur's Gate?
Hey
man, pick your poison. Play the things you want to get to it later. You don't need to worry about no FOMO. It's not like anybody here is going to ruin the end.
No. After wandering through the desert, I am drinking this entire well.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Here's the water. Here's the well. Drink full.
It's kind of funny. There's this one guy I work with at the office and stuff. He's a pretty unemotional guy. He's just pretty even keel. I have never heard this man get so impassioned as when I asked him, what do you think of Baldur's Gate? Like, he's already put 200 hours into it. He says, like, hey, if I make a decision I don't like, I just re-roll and start over again. He's like, that's how much I love this game. like, damn, this shit is serious.
Dude, I honestly, I feel him 100%. Like, I can't stop going back to Baldur's Gate and be like, everything just needs to be this. Like, and I don't mean to throw wood on the fire of like this sets a new standard or anything like that, but dude, just like everything needs to be this. Like, we've been going so far the other direction. Like, y'all know I've been playing Starfield and I've been loving Starfield, but you want to hear some shit talking on Starfield? Here's some. Why the fuck do modern RPGs, Starfield included, have, hey, here are your clothes? What do you mean my clothes are a slot? What the fuck do you mean all of my clothes are one equipment slot? Right? Like, I just have cute little fucking outfits and shit. Like, what the fuck is this bullshit? Back in my day, when I was a young blood, we had pauldrons and gloves and legs and boots and a chest and a fucking helmet and sometimes some goddamn rings and whatnot. Right? Like, we had so many awesome equipment slots in an RPG, and now we're like, hey, you're wearing that single outfit that and like we've just been getting more and more shallow, and apparently nobody in the creative space has been thinking, hey, people might not like this, and then a game comes back and delivers some depth, and you're like, oh, sweet Jesus, that's nice. I really appreciate that. Like, I can go through Starfield, and if somebody talks to me about something, I can be pretty rest assured that, like, my response is going to adjust whether or not they like me and their feeling towards me, but that is going to have zero impact beyond that. afterwards, to the point where I'll be honest, playing Baldur's Gate can sometimes be a little bit of a stressful experience because you're like, bro, I do not know. Somebody's going to ask me a question of like, how do you like your toast? And then 3 chapters later, that's going to kill one of my companions.
Okay.
It is a tangled web that we are weaving, and it's amazing, but it's not standard.
Yeah, and Brett, on the flip side, the same peer of mine who was so impassioned about Baldur's Gate asked him, "What do you think of Starfield?" He was like, "The game's fucking boring. I stopped playing after 20 hours."
Yeah, well,
I'm like, damn.
I'll say something similar.
And he likes Bethesda games, by the way.
Sorry, my dog's going crazy. I'm on mute for a minute.
Yeah. Go ahead, Carlos. You could answer that.
So Tony, me and you've been talking. I think was it yesterday, the day before?
Yeah.
About a certain game.
Yes.
Called Cyberpunk.
By the way, that game does have separate jacket, shirt, pants, boots.
Yes.
Glasses, whatever. Yeah.
So I went
naked.
Yeah, or that too. And outfits.
I went from Starfield
Yeah.
directly to Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty, and I'm thinking, is this? Did I skip 2 generations? Like it feels like I went from like a PS3 game to a PS5 game.
You mean like, what do you mean in terms of graphics or like everything?
Everything it just feels a lot better. Like the graphics, the way the story's told, the inventory system, the traversal.
It feels like a step back. This is interesting. Shout out to Presty71. I'm not sure if I've seen that name before, but welcome to you, sir, and shout out. He says, big Bethesda fan. I've also stopped playing Starfield. And Carlos, I want to get your take on this because you and I are somewhat on the same level of being terminally online, unfortunately. Have you noticed that talk about Starfield has kind of like ceased? No one's really talking about this game anymore.
I to be honest, I haven't been as online recently as I used to, so I haven't seen any of the chatter or any of the non-chatter.
Oh man!
But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm wondering. I'm gonna check out the Twitch numbers for that.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's still good, but I wonder where it's located because it was pretty close to the top when it came out.
But again, this could just be anecdotal on my part. But yeah, am I bugging in that assessment? I'm like, no one's really talking about this game like they were, or that they should be.
Theories.
What do you think,
I have
Brett?
theories.
So, Brett, am I off base here? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, so there's something a little bit different about Starfield. I do enjoy the shit out of Starfield, and I love it like a Bethesda game. But I will say it's probably my least favorite of the Bethesda franchises. Like, it's in a weird place. Like, there's certain parts of it which are kind of a natural progression of systems that have been in place, and by that measure, I like it better. But like playing this kind of just makes me. It definitely makes me be like, man, I can't wait until the next Elder Scrolls and Fallout. Like, you do this in an Elder Scrolls or a Fallout game, like, ton. But like, and like the aesthetic is good. I think a big part of it is, it doesn't have that same kind of open world vibe because you have to go through system menus, and it's really weird because like as I've played it, I've kind of been paying attention to like the way that I actually play, and none of this stuff or the menus or anything like that are really intrusive. Like, the game almost feels like its UI was designed by somebody who had already been fucking around with it for several hundred hours. Right? So, like, its UI is designed around when you're speeding through missions and you've already done a bunch of stuff and now you're just trying to, like, zip to here and zip to there. And, like, it felt like they knew where you were going to fast travel. They knew where you were going to just basically teleport to the next chunk, and they made that pretty easy. And then you can go around and like fly around and like not open your menu. Like you can open your scanner and jump from star system to the next star system to the next one. It just it feels kind of cumbersome, and the way that it feels best is when you're like, cool, I'm gonna open my press start, jump down to my current quest log, press X to chart a course to wherever the fuck that's going to be, and then the next thing I know, I'm in orbit. And I open my scanner, aim it at the place that I'm going, press X, and I'm on the ground. And all of that's in like a 20-second span, and now I'm in the next place that I need to be. So it feels very streamlined, but that I don't know that that's... I also don't know that's a good thing, because... go ahead.
So Brett, that's one of my biggest issues with the game. I feel like it's too, like, you're too much into the menus in that game. Like, instead of, you know, when you, and that's one of the contrasts to the Elder Scrolls and Fallout. Like, once you start a world, once you're in a world in Fallout, you start a game, you're in it, and it feels like, okay, the exploration is what your eyes are seeing through the distance and then through the fields and through, you know, mountains and different places.
Yeah,
right?
but you fast travel like a motherfucker in all of those games. And see the thing, like Fallout and Elder Scrolls, like it turns down to, I'm going to do a quest, then I'm going to open a map, and then I'm going to select an area, and then I'm going to fast travel that area, and then now I'm inside the town, and I'm going to run over and I'm going to talk to this guy, and then I'm going to open my quest log, or even, you know, open the map, find the next area that I need to be, or if it's more efficient than that, open my quest log and then just tell that to jump to the area on map location and then select that and fast travel there. But here you literally select your quest marker and be like, go to that place. Like, you don't even have to jump through an extra menu. You just immediately, like, one button, go to that place. And like, it kind of reminds me, like, if you give players enough freedom, they will, I forget what the term was, but like make something efficient to the point of kind of killing the enjoyment. And I can't help but feel that concept is a little bit here. Like, it's great that I can just press the start button and be like, yeah, take me to where my next quest is. But like, that's too easy, man. Like, and I think that might actually kill something, because it sure shit doesn't feel like I'm going there. Hell, if I had spent a little bit more time in menus, I might actually feel like I'm charting star courses. And I know this because I've kind of played that way a little bit. Like, I have no problem altering the way that I play to enjoy the game more, and I have no problem playing the game in a way that I think I'm going to enjoy more. The problem is, like, that's not necessarily a normal or average way to do things. Most people won't make accommodations, weird as it sounds, to enjoy the thing that they're doing more. You know, most people won't even turn off the movie or turn off the lights to enjoy the movie more. So, like, asking people to play a certain way that is less efficient because you find and genuinely think that it's a more fulfilling gameplay loop, like, I don't think that's realistic to ask of people. That being said, I do enjoy jumping to a star system and opening my scanner and checking out everything and then landing by pressing X, but I also like walking into my ship and going to the captain's quarter and accessing the little table with the holo maps and charting my star course for, you know, here to the next side. Like, I enjoy that too. The ability to do it is in there. Is there any reason to do it? No. It feels like that was done away with a long time ago. And I think somewhere in there is a lesson.
Yeah, I just feel like for the game, it's too. I look at it differently from you, Brett. The game is not as dense. Like we talked, you know, it's as wide as an ocean, as deep as a puddle. You're not in a place for that long in order to feel like you're immersed. There are a few missions that do that, like the Mantis mission. Like we always go back to that one. That's one of the prime ones. But because you're in one place for a while, until you get to the end of the mission. But most of the other missions, you're going from place to place, star system to star system, where you don't stay in one place for that long, and you just spend most of it traversing through menus, going from one star system to the other, going through your quest log or going through your your inventory and stuff like that. And most of it's done there instead of focusing on whatever you're doing.
Dude, even the fact that there is a start menu, like in Fallout, you have your Pip-Boy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the least intrusive. Like, I don't feel like even when I look at my Pip-Boy, like, I'm getting pulled out of the game. I'm upset. Why is there not, like, a hollow display that pops up or something from your goddamn watch?
They could have sold them as a collector's item. It would have made money.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, by the way, off topic, but kind of going back to you were talking about, Carlos. Cyberpunk has now sold 25 billion copies.
Fuck.
That's crazy. And the DLC itself has already sold 3 million in a week.
Okay, so I want to say good, but let me ask you guys, like, real talk. Is that good? The game is such a
25 million sounds pretty good to me, No.
No. I mean, is that a good thing that it has now been that successful, considering the way that it launched? And yeah, they did go back and fix it, but is that just incentive to be like, as long as they fix it, gamers don't remember or care?
Yeah, no, I understand it. It's not a precedent you want, obviously, but I don't think a lot of games will get away with this either, No
Man's Sky did. In fact, they did so well that other games are being compared to it.
Yeah, but this is the first single player game to have done this. But your point does stand. You're right about that because No Man's Sky, Sea of Thieves, Final Fantasy. Yeah, we've seen it in the multiplayer space many times. But the thing is, with those kind of games, you expect that to happen, right? You expect it to just change over time and stuff. World of Warcraft is not the same World of Warcraft it was when it first launched. But with a single player game, it's a little bit of a different story, But although I think it's good that these guys stuck with the game and fixed it, you're right. I don't want this to be the precedent because that's bad. I've been complaining about this whole patch it later mentality since I started blogging, like fucking 13 years ago, and the problem's still there. But the game had a comeback, had a genuine comeback. Go ahead.
I will say this for me, I was a huge part of the vocal community that was talking about the faults of this game and how disastrous the release was, and it's it sucks because, and remember we talked about it, Tony. I said when I first started playing it, I didn't get to beat or anything. Like, I just played a couple hours, said I see the potential in this game, and now that I got to play it, I think to myself, is this one of the best games I've ever played? Is it in my top 10? I have to think about it, which is freaking crazy about any game to get into your top 10. But that's the type of game this is for me, and it's crazy because you get this dichotomy of thinking, well, it was a fuck up that you don't want it as a precedent.
Yeah.
But it's also a game that was in its core a incredible game.
Yeah, and that's something I said even from the jump. Like when I played it at launch, I'm like, this game's kind of fucked up, but there's a lot of good under it too. Because again, it's like, what other game lets you drive around in a big cyberpunk world like that? Can't really find any, But I'm glad they were able to fix it. But you're right, I don't want this to be the precedent. That's not a good thing, for gamers or anybody really.
And this type of scenario can only happen to the big games. Like, let's say Grand Theft Auto 6 release is broken, it's gonna get the same treatment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's gonna get fixed. And by the way, Brett, Cyberpunk, they have different articles of clothing. Just so you know.
Oh, I know. Cyberpunk to me is, if there was anything like I said before, I've said for years that nobody but Bethesda could make a Bethesda game until Cyberpunk came along and fixed its shit. And now, pretty fucking close, man.
Yeah, I would agree with that. For the most part, you can't just grab random shit and like stack it up or whatever. Like you can in a Bethesda game, but yeah, no, you're right.
I swear to God, you're going to see that's eventually going to get phased out of the Bethesda games. Like they are simplifying and streamlining it. I don't like it. Each one is a little bit less deep, and maybe that's the problem with Starfield here. Is maybe they finally just cross a line.
Could be. By the way, Carlos, Presty71 is our boy Jason Presty from Twitter.
Oh,
So shout out to him, man. He says this his first time in the chat. So good stuff.
Welcome.
there's a lot of folks who've listened to us, through on Twitter or on the podcast that haven't been on these live shows. So it's always good to see people from other places.
Yeah, because you got I mean, I've said this many times, like the guys who check us out on Twitch, I call them the tip of the iceberg. Most of the people who listen to Throwdown, and this is true of like just fans in general. Most fans of anything are just in the cut, enjoying the content. They don't really say anything, they don't interact with you, but they enjoy it. So shout out to the the lurkers, as I call them. You guys are awesome. Jay Shep, what's going on, brother? Can you ask Brett? Can you ask if Brett knows why they are simplifying Bethesda games?
Who's they?
Bethesda.
Mass appeal.
Yeah, pretty much it.
Yeah, I mean that's why. Most games are done that way. Like the current, Final Fantasy games, all the stuff all gets simplified for the masses. One
this isn't a thing with Bethesda games. This is every franchise. This
happens to every franchise. So when they are able to crack the ceiling of being a zeitgeist game, but once they've hit that ceiling, that's when all the changes start to happen. A lot of people these days are why they say a lot for a lot of different games, not only just video games. Like, oh wait, why are they changing all the rules in Dungeons and Dragons, or why are they removing this from this game? Is because now since it's moved out of niche, it's in a general audience, so they're gonna try to make it as even more appealing to people like that.
Yep. So that's the answer.
But
that's happening to most franchises now.
Yeah, so that's why what makes Baldur's Gate an anomaly, because they didn't need to compromise a damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
It still put out that game, and it ended up being successful.
Yeah, but by the way, I love how from software games, they're like, no, we ain't streamlining shit. You guys are gonna like it.
They don't stream,
right?
Here's the thing, there's the thing about it is what. That's part of their what they're known for. They're known for being difficult games. They're known for being complicated. But the thing about it is that they've bred that sort of, they essentially not bred that sort of community, but it is to sort of be expected. So when you set the expectations that everybody is going to be doing it this specific way, and that's what is the key to what their fan base is, why would they want to change that?
Yeah. Could you imagine that actually giving the fans what they want?
I mean, the thing about it is there's different strokes for different folks, right? There's obviously the general, if you can manage to somehow get the general audience into something that's a little bit more complicated, you're winning. But for the most part, things get dumbed down. This happens all the time when things, I call it's like when they make a sequel to a movie and everything seems a lot more fake and a lot more stupid, because they're just boiling it down to this, this distilled form, as opposed to trying to keep the full essence of what it originally was.
Yeah. So
what's funny?
Go. What's up?
I would say James Cameron's a good sign of this, but done good. Made it streamlined.
Well, the thing about it is that James Cameron has never I don't think James Cameron has ever really compromised. He's just good at making general audience films.
Yep.
He manages to get people to watch a fucking almost 4-hour movie somehow, and have it be a success.
Yep. Yeah, you're right. He's never been like an auteur fucking director. He's always been a mainstream director guy.
No, he seems to get what entertains people. I mean, the only bomb he really had was The Abyss, right?
I think so. Yeah.
But that was. and it might have been also partially because of studio meddling. As I remember, he was really disappointed with that film because of certain things that happened.
Which is
But-
funny because that movie's still great. I've
It's a
never,
good film.
I've never, like Manny. I actually didn't know that, but I'm not surprised that it didn't do gangbusters. But I remember when I saw it, I'm like, this movie's fucking awesome.
Yeah, they cut. I mean, like there was a bunch of cuts and things that they ended up doing. They pulled his budget on a bunch of stuff, so he couldn't finish off certain effects.
Released the
stuff
Cameron
like that.
cut.
So it was, released. I mean, the camera cut was released years ago. He actually had all that stuff.
Manny, did you see they're finally restoring some of James Cameron's movies, like Aliens just got a nice remaster and stuff. So hopefully we'll get T2 finally, because that's been needing a nice redo.
What was the deal with that last 4K
it was fucked up.
release?
It was fucked up, just like the last Blu-ray one.
Oh.
Think about it like this.
I know
Terminator
he fixed
2.
it. I know he.
Yeah,
I know he.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I know he fixed some stuff in that movie though.
Yeah, a couple of
He
things.
fixed the slow motion sequence where Arnold jumps down and it's the stunt man.
Yeah, they put his face. Yeah, they fixed that.
They put his face on there. Yeah.
But no, I've been waiting this whole time for a proper version of that movie. Like the last one I bought, Manny, was the DVD with that steel case. I didn't buy the Blu-ray because I heard that was fucked up. The 4K's fucked up. But yeah, man, I got to get that because I'm like, Terminator 2 is literally my favorite movie of all time, and I don't own it on fucking 4K because it's all fucked up. Terminator Dark. Listen, every movie after Terminator 2 was hot dog shit. They're bad. Like, oh, what about this? No. They're all bad,
Yeah.
All right, let's get into some gaming news here. Hope you guys enjoyed us vamping for 40 minutes. But again, nothing happened this week, so whatever. Let's talk about The Last of Us, man.
Uh-oh.
So apparently, the studio behind the multiplayer game, they've suffered some layoffs. So now the multiplayer is on ice. And
Hold on, whoa. I like how that's phrased like, who could have seen these layoffs that are now not letting us? We really want to be able to finish this game for you guys, but these layoffs, they just came out of nowhere. Like, bro, you did the layoffs.
My thing is, and it's something we've been saying on Throwdown for 3 years now. This game's never going to get a multiplayer game at all, like a multiplayer. Here's the thing. The only reason the first Last of Us has a multiplayer mode is because they came out during that era of tacked on multiplayer, right? No, I understand there's people that are really passionate about the multiplayer of Last of Us. That's great. But the majority of people don't care, right? And Naughty Dog and Sony are not going to put money into this. I think they're just paying lip service. I don't think this was ever going to be a project that was ever going to see the light of day. So I'm not going to go into conspiracies and shit, but yeah, that thing's never coming. Just let it go. It's over. No one cares. So Manny, what were you going to say?
No, I mean, to be honest, it's like was anybody chomping at the bit for this? I mean,
some people
with the
were,
exception of a small minority of people.
Yeah, the majority of people weren't. People weren't.
I mean, their playership was never really that good on the previous one. They didn't even see fit to get the multiplayer working from when they remastered Last of Us Part 1.
That's another sign that they don't care. That Naughty Dog and stuff does here. They didn't even give you the multiplayer for when they re-released the first game, because they know.
Yeah,
when people talk about let's just be honest here. When people talk about The Last of Us, very few people talk about the multiplayer. It's about the story, right? That's what people really care about. Again, this game came out during an era when fucking Tomb Raider of all games got a multiplayer mode. Everything just had to have this shit shoehorned in there.
Yeah, because they wanted to what was it, to give perceived value to whatever
God
game
of War. Remember that bullshit? God of War Ascension. That had
God of War
multiplayer.
Ascension had it.
Dead Space 2 tacked on multiplayer. And I'm gonna say it. I don't care who gets mad. Uncharted had a tacked on multiplayer.
Yeah, twice.
Yep.
Ooh,
How dare you say something so true?
Yeah,
Or is it
come on,
3
guys.
times? Didn't four have tacked on multiplayer as well? I believe it did. And I was well past that
had
era, you know?
I think this is the wrong place to ask because most of us played the game, but none of us would have cared.
Yeah, exactly. Again, like I remember I played the multiplayer for Uncharted 2 for a little bit, whatever. Didn't care for it. Played a little bit of 3, didn't care for it. And if 4 had multiplayer, I never touched it. You know?
By the way, another game that notoriously had tacked on multiplayer.
Mass Effect.
That's another one. I forgot about that one.
Metal Gear.
Metal Gear. Metal Gear Online. Come on, man.
And they had it twice too.
Yep.
Yeah, well, no, 3 times.
Oh God.
There was a multiplayer in 3. There was multiplayer in 4, and then 5 had one.
That's right, it did.
So 3 times in a row.
That's right, it did. I forgot about that. You know, Jay Shep, you're learning something. He's like, I didn't know these games had. Yup, they went ham.
Peace Walker have it.
Peace Walker did. Actually, it was an online game already. It was an online game though, kind of. You know?
No, it was like a co-op sort of game. You could play with, if anybody was near you. So it did have a multiplayer aspect to it. But
I would say it's done well. It wasn't tacked on.
Yeah.
It felt.
Yeah.
We played it. We enjoyed it.
Yeah, we liked it. Yeah.
But I feel like that multiplayer or whatever that fit the the idea of Metal Gear. You were still playing a Metal Gear game. You just could play with your friends now, right?
Yeah, but that was that era of
shooting each other to death.
And we only needed a handful of games. Everything had to have multiplayer mode back in the day.
Yeah, that was the in the PlayStation 3 era and the early PlayStation 4 era.
Yeah,
that was the time when they kept on tacking on multiplayer.
I remember before Uncharted 2 got, because before it came out, right? They're like, oh, we have one more big announcement to make, and I was there. This is 2008, mind you, right? 2009. And I was like, don't say it, because I knew what they were going to say. I already knew what they were going to say. Like my spider sense was tingling. Like, don't say it. Don't say multiplayer. I'm like, fuck. You guys fell for it too. And you know what game preceded even all of these? This isn't the game that kicked it off, but it was like the start kind of it. Ratchet and Clank, I think was fully loaded. It was the third Ratchet and Clank game on PS2. That had multiplayer, and what was crazy about that was the first 2 Ratchet and Clank games were fucking phenomenal, right? Then this game comes out, it's literally half as long and wasn't as good. I'm like, why is this game not on the level of the other 2? It's because the development team got split in half to work on the fucking multiplayer, And I know Riku swears by that multiplayer, but to me, that was the canary in the coal mine, of what was to come. And that was in like 2005 or something. But I remember, man, I was dreading that shit when like Uncharted, don't do it, Uncharted, don't fuck it up. Thankfully, the actual game wasn't affected by it. Uncharted 2, even now, is one of the greatest fucking action adventure games of all time. But still, it did not need that motherfucking multiplayer,
But not that multiplayer, because that multiplayer is dusted like Thanos. Just boom, gone.
Yeah,
nobody remembers that shit.
Nobody.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw this out there too. Unpopular opinion. Last of Us, the multiplayer wasn't that good. It wasn't. It was this arbitrary, isolated, tacked on fucking thing that, it was, you could run up and face somebody with a baseball bat real quick. And so it had real quick takedowns, and it didn't take, most people weren't bullet sponges. I get that, but it was so fucking shallow.
I'm going to say this about the Uncharted multiplayer, because if you talk to anybody that really loves it, they'll say, oh, it was so deep. You could do so many things. It wasn't a shallow multiplayer experience. Funny, because when I went in there with those expectations, you know what it ended up being? Just like every other multiplayer game. It was just motherfuckers running around shooting each other like chickens without heads. I'm like, so where's the depth here?
In fact, it was In fact, it was so bad that nobody would even do the objectives. They just keep shooting each other.
Yeah, just like I mean, that's kind of my problem in general with multiplayer. Like, you get these promises like, oh yeah, this, you get to play in these giant groups. It's this big immersive thing. No, it's just motherfuckers running up to each other and just shooting each other. It's stupid, and it's funny when I play, whenever I had to play Call of Duty, like any multiplayer mode that had an objective, I would always be number one because I'm the actual guy doing the fucking objective. Collect the dog tags. Go do this. Go do that. These guys don't care. They're just running around shooting each other,
And then wondering why they lost.
Yeah, why they
wondering why they lost.
Do the objective,
Well, that's the golden rule. You got to play with your friends, right? Everything devolves. Like that happened in GTA Online. You do a heist with randos.
Yep.
Gears of War, I played with randos. Everybody, that's what you said, Tony. Everybody just runs off. I'm going to go shoot motherfucker. No, we have an objective.
Yeah, no, we have an objective. No, shoot. I remember playing GTA 4 online, right? And when you're playing with randoms, and this is what taught me, don't ever play with randoms, Tony. I go in there, where it was me. It was one of those missions where it was like you and three guys had to do a specific thing. You had to do a series of events, right, to complete the mission. I go in there. There's one guy just starts shooting me and the other dude, and he kills me, and then he messages me, "Ha, stupid N-word," I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, and I text him back. Remember, this is PlayStation 3. No fucking voice chat, right? Text him back.
You sure you were on Xbox?
No, this is PlayStation, Ha, stupid N-word. And I was like, and I text him back, and I'm like, yo, you're not being objective just because you're a stupid N-word. Like, okay, I'm never going to play with randoms again, Fucking stupid, man. Yeah, those first multiplayer experience I had shaped me for the rest of my life. I'm like, yeah, I don't really like this shit. Horrible. But anyway, Last of Us, Brett, everything you said about multiplayer, I agree 100%. Trash.
Ain't happening.
I remember when I was on SC Field Play, because the game came out when we were on that site. I did like a Tony's rant about that shit on audio. I was so pissed off at this fucking multiplayer. I wish Torrance hadn't sold the fucking site. People would have enjoyed that shit. But I went on this 20-minute long rant about how shitty that multiplayer was, And this was back when Tony was really fiery. You think I'm fiery now? I'm not nothing compared to back when I actually used to have passion for shit 10 years ago,
Yeah, but now a bunch of people that haven't played it can't remember
passion.
It.
Yeah, you still got passion, but you just don't want to get in trouble when your passion gets too loud.
Yeah. I don't want to get canceled. This is what the age before cancellations, But no one could match Brett on that passion, though. Shout out to you, Brett.
I can agree about stuff. It's cool.
Yeah. Jay Shep goes, too many shitty people out there for me to play multiplayer. I experienced that crap with Elder Scrolls Online. Listen, man, when I started just playing exclusively with my homies, most of them here on Throwdown, much better experience online. Much better,
Yeah, I mean, we did. Here's the thing: it's not like we didn't play any sort of multiplayer games. Like we did play. Yeah, we did play the Uncharted one, but we played the co-op mode that they had on that one.
We played the co-op.
That was cool.
And then Manny and I found a lot of cool PlayStation guys. Like when we were trying to get trophies and stuff. Those guys were cool, and I think we were still just fucking texting each other back then. Because they got no voice chat.
And at least I know. When Tony was doing the multiplayer trophies for Grand Theft Auto, he hooked up with a bunch of people on there. So I mean, there is moments that but I think about it, it's just an artificial way. Like for the most part, it's an artificial way to extend a game. You know?
It is.
Okay, the game ends around 15 hours or whatever, right? All right, so now we try to sell people a bunch of tchotchkes, and then they run around and shoot each other in an arena, So,
because back then the worry was because people would buy the game, complete it, and then sell it back, right?
Yeah,
and the thinking was, okay, we gotta add something to keep people engaged with the game. So they were like, okay, let's put multiplayer onto this shit. That was their solution back then. Now it's season passes and all this other shit. I must have. I know I've said this on Throwdown a couple of times. I sometimes during my darkest times, I'm like, I think tacked-on multiplayer was a good thing compared to what we have now. You know,
Well,
when I'm really in despairing, like,
mean,
fuck, you got season
back in the
passes,
day-
microtransactions, all this other shit, you know?
Back in the day, you know, also they used to do shit like sites used to dox you know, like games points for not having a fucking multiplayer
I remember that.
mode.
And then remember, Manny, every fucking journalist back then, does your game have a multiplayer mode? You know?
Yeah.
And then some of the players will be, you know, they know how to answer. It's fucking crazy, man.
Sony just went, no.
You know, well, Sony did have multiplayer back then too. They had, you know, Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto and shit. Actually,
Well, I
back
mean,
then,
for, like,
it was, I know motherfuckers in the chat right now. Warhawk, remember that shit on PlayStation? That was huge for multiplayer back then, and Uncharted, and you know that shit. You know.
But here's the thing, like Warhawk was mostly multiplayer in general, right?
Yeah, it was a multiplayer game. It was specifically a multiplayer game.
It was just multiplayer.
Yeah, it was just multiplayer. Yeah. So yeah, The Last of Us. Yeah, again, I think this multiplayer specifically is not going to materialize. Factions. I say
I don't
give
think
it up.
Factions
Give
is
it
gonna
up.
to be honest, they would do themselves a lot better if they developed some sort of new multiplayer game instead of doing it off of Last of Us, for a game that's not even really, nobody really cares about multiplayer for.
Yeah. By the way, some fucked up shit regarding this. You know, because 25 people got laid off, right? Or excuse me, some 25 contractors are set to exit early. I'm reading this from IGN. Naughty Dog will reportedly not offer severance to laid off staff who Kotaku are expected to work with until Kotaku broke the story. According to Kotaku, Naughty Dog staff are being pressured to keep the news quiet about this.
Well, the thing about it is, like, you know, like if you're just in-house freelancers that they're sort of hiring to sort of, you know, essentially throw people at a problem, you're not going to get a severance package because you don't have that type of contract.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, these people better not be acting like this. The people better not be acting like this is new shit because it ain't.
Yo, Carlos, where's Jason Schreier, man?
Yeah, where's Jason Schreier? No, I mean, because everybody, you know, if you got to be an idiot not to understand what a fucking contractor is. And usually, oh, hey, you know, contractors, you know what? Oh, well, let me let you know. You don't get fucking medical. Oh, they don't get fucking vacation time. Oh, because they're just contractors. They're only meant to be there for a short amount of time, and they let them go, and then they'll hire them right back to fill in the space after a certain amount of time. Because let me let you know, there's a certain amount of time that you can be an in-house contractor before they have to, before a company has to give you medical, you know, vacation time and all those other things to hire you as a real full-time employee.
Yep, that's how it works.
That's the way the animation industry works, yo. So
at one point, this is why
no severance packages.
Go ahead, Brett.
What's that?
I said at one point that's why unions existed. At one point, not anymore.
Well, I mean, the thing about it is in the game industry, that is one of the things that doesn't exist. There is no unions, no matter how much, you know, a lot of these companies, like, we need to unionize. Big studios don't want game developers to unionize.
Oh God,
Let's
no.
get that out of the way. No.
Yeah.
They very much
want that not to happen.
The effects industry and the video game industry, they don't want them to unionize because what just happened recently? SAG and the Writers Guild both went on strike and literally crippled the whole fucking industry. What if every single developer decided to just walk off of their big jobs? That would fuck everything up.
Yeah.
They don't want it. They don't want that. So that's why they don't let it through. So there you go.
So yeah, games. That thing's done. Whatever. Let's move on here. What else are we talking about? Okay, we got to talk about Alan Wake 2, man. This is funny.
What happened?
So Alan Wake 2, Brian, you'll like this. So Alan Wake 2 will have a performance mode on PS5 and Xbox Series X. What's missing?
The S?
Switch.
Yeah.
No, the S.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 No parity. Again, I think I don't know who called it. Somebody on Throwdown called it that as time goes by, you're going to see parity with the S just be like, no, we're not going to do that anymore.
They're not going to do it. No, they're gonna to add that additional development onto that
I heard that PlayStation
that console. What was that?
I heard that PlayStation turn on.
That wasn't a PlayStation. That was an air conditioner turning on.
Wow.
Anyway, yeah, there's not gonna.
I'm checking mine just in case. Like,
no, my air conditioner makes the same noise. Yeah. Anyway, there's not going to be parity in the future on that thing. They're just going to release them just because they can if they can't, and that's it. You know, that's it.
Yeah.
Hey, it's on there, but how many people are going to be playing that game on there? Especially if they know, oh shit, you know. Especially if we know Remedy the way Remedy is, where they literally pushing all the friggin' ray tracing and all that other stuff. Remember what Control did? Control was literally causing like PlayStations and Xboxes to overheat.
Yeah. No, you're right about that.
And that game never ran like amazingly on the 4.
Yeah. But here's the interesting thing. Most Xbox Series players are on the S. So
well, I mean, they're not going to give a shit, to be honest. Like, they're gonna like
they bought a GIMP system to begin with.
No, I mean they bought a GIMP system. Yeah. Anyway, like Carlos said, it's like I think, to be honest, if they don't see any of those features there, I don't think most people are gonna even give a shit. Right?
Yeah. Jay Shep asks, how does Microsoft not get sued after backtracking so many lies? The thing is, all these developers lie to you, man, in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
you know, and they're not legally binded to deliver on their promises. Again, remember with the PS4, every game will be 1080p, 60 frames a second. They said that. That didn't happen, did it?
They said that.
You know,
that didn't happen. They said that on PlayStation 3.
They did. Yes, 1080, they did. 1080p,
60 frames per second.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, what was that? There was only like 2 games that really hit that mark, and it was barely.
Yeah. And then on Xbox, Xbox One needs the Kinect to work. It cannot function without it. And then 3 months later, it's fucking gone. You know, they do this shit all the time. Or who was it? What developer was it? They literally went on stage. Somebody asked them, are you developing this game? It was David Jaffe. They asked him, are you making a new Twisted Metal game? He said, no, I'm not. Year later, new Twisted Metal game. And he goes, yeah, I lied. Like, oh shit, Peter Molyneux. I don't even need to explain anymore. It's Peter Molyneux. Yeah. You know,
the guy who made up features while he was sitting in an interview.
Yeah. How does any developer or platform get away with that? Because it's not legally binding, man. That's why.
It's not legally binding. Yeah. It's not like you're signing any sort of documentation unless it's something that's legitimately, fucking people out of money. You know, like in other words, like they're taking your money from you while you're playing the damn thing, or they did something else that would be grounds to come after them. But I mean, obviously,
they haven't done anything illegal. You know,
they haven't really done anything illegal. It's not like you're that hurt by that thing, unless it's called some sort of, maybe you could call some sort of false advertising. But to be honest, most courts would just throw that shit out.
They would, like,
oh, you lied about this.
Again, this whole thing is not new to the gaming industry. You know those screenshots from video game magazines back in the day? They were doctored too. You know, that's just how it is.
You know those E3 presentations.
Yes,
like even the ones that are supposedly live gameplay.
They're not.
All that is just a lockdown level that just they could walk through. That things happen. And even lots of these guys even proved it. Where like they literally found, what was it, one of those early Call of Duty ones where they just said, yeah, all they do is just walk forward and all the different things happen. They're not even shooting at them.
It's all scripted.
All of it's all happening scripted.
Yep. Again, none of this is new. And I remember when Manny and I went to our first E3 in 2013, right? We went to... Actually, excuse me. It was for both PlayStation and fucking Xbox. We went to both their booths. When you look behind the scenes, we weren't playing those systems. We're playing on PC. You know, like again, none of this shit is new, man.
Yeah, you'll see the PlayStation or the Xbox sitting on the thing. That's just a shell. The real guts is underneath it. Yeah, you know, it's underneath it, underneath the booth.
Jay Shep says he's questioning his whole beliefs. Yeah, again, this is why you shouldn't trust these companies, man. In general, you should just be distrustful because people will lie to you, man. Anyway, go ahead, Brett.
It's like the thing about it is it's like if you're like if you think it's one way, they'll continue to let you to think that it's that way because it's less to go into. Like, oh hey, yeah, you're totally playing a PlayStation game. Yes, you are playing a PlayStation game on a development PC that's sitting underneath the damn machine underneath the booth.
Yeah. Or what about all those trailers that are quote unquote running in engine, and it's just a fucking PC. Come on. Watch Dogs. I don't even, again, that's all I need to say. I don't need to explain it. Watch Dogs. You always get lied to, man. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Brett, I'm going to say it. Cyberpunk. You get lied to all the time. Anyway, Brett, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Beyond that, man, like you don't even in this case, like I hate to say it, it's one of those like technically they didn't lie, and that's sometimes, man, that's honestly fucking worse. Like I'm not saying that shit's better, but I'm like they could be cheeky and just be like, well, we never technically said that everything that was coming out for the S and it was also coming out for the or everything that was coming out for the X was also coming out for the S. You assumed that. We never corrected you.
Didn't they say parody though? I specifically do remember that.
For 2 years.
Said no gamer left behind parody.
I remember that.
There was.
In
fact, that's why.
Wasn't that for 2 years?
Baldur's. Wasn't that also? That was also.
For the 2 years was that every game will come out on the one. That's what they said.
Yeah. So I mean, again, like to be honest, this thing doesn't surprise me. They're slowly but surely gonna just.
I can keep going with these lies. I can keep going with these lies. If anything,
they're just gonna. Yeah. I think what's gonna happen with the S is they're just gonna, get it to a point to where it actually works on the damn thing, and they're just probably just gonna turn off all the other abilities on that it has. Like like hey, increase the resolution. The shit can't do that. So just stop it.
I think they're just like I think when we've said it before. I think they're just going to get to the point where they're like, oh look, it can stream all of these things still just fine. Asterisk if you have proper, if you have basically Google Fiber. So but if you don't have Google Fiber and suddenly it can't stream these games, it's not that it can't play these games. It can play these games. Technically by streaming them, but only if you're in a good environment. And if you don't have good infrastructure, that's not their fault. That's kind of your fault. So they didn't lie. You just don't have the correct infrastructure. Like it's just going to be one of those kind of things. And again, it doesn't matter. There have been times when companies have just straight up lied to your face. Innumerable times. Like Tony has mentioned. And you keep mentioning.
I could literally go on for another half an hour listing all the lies that we've seen throughout the years. Like
Killzone 2.
Yeah. Killzone 2. Yeah. Remember that fucking trailer, Again, or Metal Gear Solid 4 running at a crisp 60 frames a second, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Again, we could do literally an entire show just on all the lies that we've seen throughout the decades.
More than one.
More than one. A whole series, Carlos.
Why can't
new podcast coming from Throwdown?
Why can't the Series S just use the power of the cloud? I was told that would speed things up.
Speaking about lies, Chris, we're Crackdown 3. Remember?
That's right.
Fully destructible environments via the cloud. What happened to that? See, J-Shep, this is why I'm so fucking jaded about shit, bro. We've been lied to too many times. It's crazy. Blitz goes, where did the Nintendo lies at? Chris could go off for an hour about that shit.
Oh my god,
Nintendo,
they care.
Huge fucking liars, but we're not worried about them right now. Killzone 2 was ridiculous. Remember that fucking trailer? We saw that shit back in 2005. We're like, what the fuck? I remember back then I was like, I don't even like first person shooting games. I will buy this shit day one.
We're like we peaked.
Yeah.
That trailer looks.
Oh, when you saw that shit, man, you're like that's it. Game graphics have top. Can't get better than this. Then you get the real Killzone 2, which didn't look bad. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't looking like that motherfucking trailer. Not at all. You know.
You don't want
J-Shep,
now.
J-Shep, you know what you're feeling right now? I felt that same shit in 2005 after learning that fucking trailer was fake, man. I felt the same shit, you know? Because I was like, look at that PS3, what the fuck? You know?
And then the other fun thing about it is that every single time, you know, like who's the developers that made that game?
Gorilla.
Yeah, Gorilla Games. Gorilla Games. Every single thing after that, they're always trying to prove that the whatever they were doing was actually in-game graphics.
That's right. Yeah, yeah.
They're always trying to match up to that trailer because they know because they fucked up by showing that thing.
Yeah, you're right. And
I heard
Manny, you're right. Till this day, every time you see a new Horizon game, in-game footage, you know, and motherfuckers be looking, you know.
That's where all of that shit comes from. It's because Killzone, because that shit happened, and I heard that they weren't even supposed to show that. That was their proof of concept video to Sony.
Oh my
God. Sony the PlayStation put that shit on there, and they're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
So even them. So
yeah, but again,
a huge clusterfuck.
Remember Watch Dogs, man. Holy shit! People saw that fucking trailer, funny. Man. They went nuts.
It's funny because for Watch Dogs, when some people got that on PC, they were actually able to turn on all the effects that trailer had.
Yeah.
So and even to this day, what's those guys? Ubisoft has never explained why they had to take the game down. Did they have some sort of mandate that they had to have parity between all the different consoles?
Yeah.
Nobody knows. Yeah. So everything looked pretty much similar. Was it through PlayStation and Xbox? So what was the deal? And they still never got to that point.
Chris, got a question for you. Blitz goes, there's a little app. We're not saying E3, we're talking about in general. I'm interested in what Chris has to say about Nintendo's lies at E3. I mean, if you want to talk on it, you can. Can't think of any, but assume there has to be some. So yeah, what are some instances of Nintendo just lying?
Well, not so much. Well, E3, there's been the tech demos that they've tried to pass off. So, GameCube had a tech demo of Legend of Zelda that wasn't what you got. Like, you got Wind Waker, but the tech demo was a sort of a remastering, kind of remake of Ocarina of Time, and that's what they passed it off as, and then you get Wind Waker. And they don't say anything. They're just like, oh shit, look at this Zelda we're going to get, and then you launch Wind Waker. But if you want...
Wait, was that the one where like motherfuckers were crying and shit when they saw like the realistic looking?
It was fighting the spider and all this shit. Yeah, and they got emotional. They thought this was what the GameCube could do.
I remember that journalists at E3 were fucking crying, when they saw that shit. I remember that very well.
Yeah. So
careful, we don't want Nintendo to come after Chris. They Nintendo fans, they always do that. So Chris is used to it.
I mean, outside of that, they lied about. They were specifically asked. I forgot what outlet asked them when the 3DS LL came out in Japan, if it was going to come out in the US and when. And they said outright, this was the official message. We have no plans right now to release this in America, and it only took less than a month before the XL was announced.
Yeah.
So it came over, right? Yeah. Like they flat out lied. This happens all the time. I discussed on the show when Kimishima came out and said,
"Don't trust Kimishima."
When they're going to continue support for the Wii U well into the life of the Switch, I said, "Don't believe this man. They're going to stop manufacturing it by the end of that year." I was like, 2016. I was like, the Wii U is dead. As soon as he said that, I'm like, watch. By the end of the year, they're going to stop manufacturing it. You won't be able to find one. It is dead. They will shut down that store the minute the Switch is out there. And that's exactly what happened, right? So he was full of shit.
And Blitz, I don't know if you've been with us that long, but we always have our catchphrases. Chris's catchphrase was always, don't trust anything Kimishima says.
Yep.
Oh, no, don't trust anything, man. But, so those are just, small examples. Like, they all do it, right? We're not, it's not like, oh, well, Nintendo's honest. No, they're not. Not at all. None of them are. So that's the point of this.
Yeah, exactly. They all lie to you.
The thing about it is like it was there's a lot of the things that are like this, and even things that they won't even mention. And like the thing about it is that one thing you have to also, whenever you hear these, like the universal language of there are no plans, usually there are no plans means there's something in the pipeline. They just can't say anything right now, or they won't say anything at that point. So they'll say no plans at this time.
Yeah,
or other
they love doing that.
other
That's their catchphrase.
or other little things, like anytime there's a Call of Duty, they have the Call of Duty people out there, and then they'll like interview them, and they're like saying, "Hey, so is there going to be another Call of Duty? We can't talk about that at this time."
Yeah, even though a Call of Duty game has been released every single year for like fucking 20 years, no.
Yeah,
we can't talk about that.
We can't talk about that. There's no plans at this time. Stuff like that.
Yeah, they're all full of shit.
Just to keep the conversation moving.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there you go. Anyway, circling back.
Why do you lie for you?
Circling back to, as I've said before, say again, and I will say again, the Xbox Series S, that S stands for shit.
I'm gonna say this for that thing. For the people that are going to buy that unit, I think it's effective to them if they have the FOMO of wanting to play next gen games, but don't care about all the other bells and whistles that the Xbox Series X can do. You know what I mean? So if it doesn't have, to be honest, if it doesn't have the ability to adjust the resolution or add ray tracing or any of that other stuff, to be honest, I don't think the people that are using that console give a shit about that. I think they really care that they can play the next games on that thing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. All right, let's move on here. Speaking about Nintendo, here's a surprise. The Nintendo's Wii U and 3DS online services will shut down in April, fiscal year. Wii U. The 3DS was discontinued in 2020, but even this shutdown won't stop Street Pass. Interesting. Yep, not surprised. Nintendo always does this. They eventually get to the point where they just cut everything off, right? The
thing about and we talked about how all the PlayStation fans just lost their shit that the PSP and the PlayStation Vita and the Xbox, and the PlayStation 3 were going to lose their stores. Nintendo fans, they are not going to give a shit about this.
They never do. Every time this happens, they
never
don't
do.
care.
Every single time, like all those purchases that you previously bought. Like, hey, let's say you bought like a game that's not actually available on the current store. They don't even give you a gimme. Like, okay, I already bought this game on the previous thing. Why don't you give it to me on the other thing? Because their stupid store doesn't connect.
Yeah. J Shep goes, could they be planning to add them to their online services? Nope. Because they never do that shit. They're gonna make you buy those fucking games all over again.
They're gonna just make you buy those games again.
For the past 20 years. They always do this, man. It's not gonna.
Yep, yeah, they're gonna. That's exactly what's gonna happen. You pull it off those stores. You're gonna lose the things that you own, which you don't really own, and then they're gonna make you pay for that stuff again. Or if it's like a classic game, they'll throw it on the higher tier of their lousy online service.
They never do this. And Chris, you could you work for Nintendo, so you could speak on this for better than us, but yeah, it's like they're not going to do that. They're not going to be like, "Hey, remember those games that you bought before? We're gonna honor them on this system." They're fucking not.
They never do that. And look, there's games even to this day lost to time on the Wii Shop. Right? There was Konami made exclusive versions of Castlevania, the Game Boy one, and Contra. They made a brand new one, Contra Rebirth. Those are nowhere. They exist nowhere. Konami can't even release them in a collection. They're just gone, right? If you didn't buy them on the Wii, they're gone. And it's like they could re-release them or they could honor your... No, they don't. They never do that. So anything, even with whatever follows the Switch, like you better, if you enjoy your games on the Switch, you better buy them because the next thing that comes along, the Switch will be old news. They'll shut down that store and it will be lost all over again. Keeps happening.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah, those Switch games, they will be gone too. Because how Nintendo operates. You guys out there think that Nintendo cares about you? No, they don't. They're fucking vicious, man.
No, they just want you to keep buying the games. And to be honest, I feel like a lot of the fans don't ever question it. They just continue to keep eating, you know? So they could keep serving you the same meals over and over and over again and have you buying it. And you still don't question, like, hey, wait a minute, this is the same thing that you just served me before. I just ate this. They're like, yeah, and you love it, right? And you're gonna eat it again, don't you?
Yeah, and they're gonna keep on eating. That's just how they are. So there you
That's
go.
it.
So yeah, this story not surprising at all. This is what Nintendo does. It says I'm reading this from The Verge. One service that will continue operating, at least for now, is Pokemon Bank, the cloud storage service that launched in 2013 with Pokemon X and Y. Although,
Well, yeah, because people want to transfer over all their
Yeah.
Pokemon.
there's no specific date listed for the shutdown, but it's going to be before the fiscal year for sure.
Yeah, they want to close that off before, and have that money. So it's soon.
Yeah, Street Pass, that's going away. So say goodbye to that. All that stuff you've been building for over 10 years.
Yeah, all those little puzzle pieces and things that you walked to get gone.
Yep. There you go. All right, and the last thing. Oh no, there's still a couple more things. Man, you threw in something about Silent Hill. We'll get to that too. We got to talk about Sony Pictures Core, which is basically a rebranded Bravia Core. It's coming to PlayStation 5. But the interesting thing about this is effectively like what you were able to do before with movies on PlayStation. So man, you can tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, you can buy and you can rent movies on this service. Pretty much the same thing that you had from PlayStation 3 era. If you remember, they removed all of that ability from the PlayStation 4. You weren't able to do that anymore. So now this is them just returning it. But the caveat on this one, and I think this is actually a smart thing, if you have one of the higher tier of versions of the PlayStation Plus, they actually give you a curated amount of free movies and series. And they said, at least on this on one of the one of the things, they also talked about stuff from Crunchyroll, because PlayStation owns that. Sony owns that as well. So not bad. I wouldn't say that's a bad deal. Like, hey, look, you get these free movies. You get you not only with your PlayStation thing, you'll get some free movies. You get some free games. Not a bad deal. But then again, also Sony's also raising the price of the PlayStation. Hooray! Right? Their service is getting raised right this year, isn't it?
I thought it already got raised.
The amount it either got raised or it's going.
Oh yeah, you're right. So my question is, like, the original movie thing on PlayStation, what was it called?
It wasn't really called anything. It didn't have like a service.
Okay.
It wasn't. It was just you could just buy movies and movies on there.
Yeah. Okay. Because I'm just wondering if, like, for the Bravia app, if they use that as a basis, to get that started.
I don't know.
This is basically the Bravia app, just for rebranded, and now it's on PlayStation.
Well, I mean, yeah, the one thing about it is, like, you would think that this would be sort of a no-brainer when it comes to Sony, because it's all the same company, but they still have to make deals within their own company in order to get these things to happen. So my guess is that the previous store was something that was run specifically by PlayStation, whereas this situation is whoever's doing their digital services is just essentially making this app available on the PlayStation 4 and then connecting it, within their ecosystem.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows the PlayStation is the breadwinner at Sony right these days. So,
Yeah, Sony's been doing some interesting stuff with like all this like branding. Because you're right, it's like PlayStation's the big selling thing, right? But then they make products that are not PlayStation centric, but they also tied with PlayStation. Remember last year they launched the InZone line, right? Which was basically like, okay, on the face of it, like, oh yeah, this is peripherals and such for PC players. But if you look at the actual products, they look like fucking PlayStations. They got black and white and everything, compatible with PlayStation.
Because a lot of those entities within Sony are not connected, but they are connected because they're in the same company, the
it's
same
weird.
subsidiaries. It's a weird one.
Yeah, because I remember, when I reviewed the first Sony InZone monitor, I'm like, why aren't you calling this a PlayStation monitor? It looks like a fucking PlayStation, but it's just another gaming division within Sony, even though they already have a gaming division called PlayStation. Very strange.
Yeah. It's weird. But then again, like that's common for a company that has a bunch of subsidiaries and offshoot companies, like somebody like Sony.
Yeah.
Right.
But
okay, so here's the crazy one. So PlayStation Now, that is not part of PlayStation. It is its own company.
That's
and
crazy.
In order
to
to do certain things on PlayStation Now, they have to make deals with PlayStation, Sony or computer, whatever. They need to make deals with PlayStation Now in order for certain things to happen. It's not part of the same gaming division. It's weird. It's another company.
It breaks me. It's like me. I got to make a deal with my cousin Jose. It's like family though. What the fuck?
Yeah, the same family, but they don't always talk.
Yeah. Oh man. So Manny, are you interested in this PlayStation Pictures Core?
I mean, it's an interesting thing, especially if it's connected to one of the higher tier versions of PlayStation Plus. Like that's what we've been saying before, right?
Yeah, man. Merge the world, baby.
If you got this PlayStation, if you got a what was it, PlayStation Plus, why does that not extend to their PlayStation Now service? Why does that not extend to their movie services?
Yeah.
To be honest, that's a no-brainer right there, right?
Okay, so this is available through both of the higher ones. I'll read this. If you're a PlayStation Plus Premium or Deluxe member, you'll get access to a curated catalog of up to 100 movies. So it's not all of them; it's just curated.
No, they give you it's kind of like when you open up Netflix and there's a certain amount of time that you have certain movies and stuff like that. So it's not everything, but it's possibly a decent amount of stuff. It's like
Yeah, I love how the ads here they're just showing the Bravia TVs because of course they will be doing that.
They show the Bravia TV and they show the PlayStation 5 sitting right next to it.
Yep. Is that CG generated? I don't know. Or AI generated. I don't trust nothing now,
Well, the other thing about it is it's like, like if you look at a lot of Microsoft services, and I'm sure that a lot of their divisions are not subsidiaries and things like the way Sony's is. Like there is a lot of interconnectivity between a lot of their applications. Like their their rewards program not only works from Windows, it works through Windows, it works through all of their different aspects. Not only just Xbox, where you can earn like little points and all kinds of other things. So, I feel like if you're gonna do something like that with Sony, why not have everything there, right? Got the service. Give me some Crunchyroll. Give me some movies.
Give me some Crunchyroll.
Give me some Crunchyroll, yo.
Yeah, man, hungry. Give me that Crunchyroll.
I'm hungry.
All right, and the last thing here. By the way, my headset's been telling me low battery for like an hour, so we'll see what happens. Silent Hill Ascension.
Plug it in.
Yeah, I got to plug it in. Silent Hill Ascension interactive series premiere. What is this?
So if you remember last year, I think they had that little Silent Hill presentation where they showed like the remake of Silent Hill 2, which is still in development by Bloober Team. There is the other Silent Hill that's made by some other company, and then a mysterious side of Silent Hill that they didn't really fully go into detail as to what it was. So coming this October 31st is this Silent Hill thing, which is some sort of interactive show where you can apparently vote on what you want the characters to do. So it's sort of like a choose your own adventure like movie. So, and I think that was the one that's through J.J. Abrams' company, right? Chris? was like Bad Robot or something like that was working on it.
Yeah, I think he had something to do with it.
Yeah, so it's that. So they has some sort of silly app thing. I don't know. It's like a weird. The trailer showed up on Twitter earlier today, or like pretty recently, and it was like they explained what it was. So that's what it is. I mean, to be honest, like it was that Silent Hill thing was kind of a weird, sketchy sort of thing anyway, and we'll see how it goes. To be honest, I think people are not going to give a shit though.
Yeah. So it's a live action show then?
From the thing they say it's live action, but from the footage I saw, it didn't look very live action to me.
So it is a CG?
So we'll see. Yeah, it looked like it was just all CG. They just show you little bits and bobs here and there. They're not doing a very good job as to showing you what it is. And then they have this thing that says like preload and like you got to download some sort of silly app or something on your computer or on your phone, which is also sort of weird and sketchy. Almost sounds like that shit that what's his face had. What the hell's that dude? Abandoned.
Yeah.
It sounds a little like that thing. It's weird, but anyway, it's supposed to be coming out. See what it is, but I'm sure it's a bunch of garbage.
Okay.
But anyway,
probably.
Yeah. Figured I'd toss it in there since it's somewhat game related.
Yeah, it's game related. That's fine. J Shep asks, did me, Carlos, or Adam, being very specific here, see that a CD Projekt Red CEO stepped down? I did not see that. Carlos, did you?
Which one?
Adam Kaczynski?
No,
is that the one that kept on apologizing?
I don't know. No, I didn't hear about that.
That was always behind the yellow background.
No,
yeah, that one.
Maybe.
So I'm looking at a IGN post right
Adam
now.
I can't pronounce that fucking name.
Kaczynski?
Maybe. I'm not Eastern European. I don't know. I mean, is there anything to say about this?
I mean,
yeah, you guys are right. He's the one that accepted. So this is from Game Radar. CD Projekt Red lead who accepted the blame for Cyberpunk 2077's awful launch becomes co-CEO. What? Did he get fired or not?
He said he's stepping down as CEO, and he's going to move to a supervisor role.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's
still in the company then. It seems like I don't think.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. To be honest, the bigger deal is the earnings call that's supposed to be happening at least this month or whatever. It's not only they're going to be showing like talking about all their finances and stuff, but there's also going to be some sort of game reveals along with it. It's a weird sort of thing that they were talking about a while ago. I don't know the full details of it.
So he's been in CD Projekt Red for over 30 years.
Wow.
As of 2024, and he's stepping down as CEO, and he's going to be part of the advisory board or a supervisor role as of 2025. And then I see a comment right after from Barry Bird, so he's getting the window seat.
Yeah.
He pretty much is getting a window seat.
So I'm looking through all these articles, and apparently they released a 75-minute documentary about Cyberpunk 2077 and all the drama that came out with it. Some independent studio came out with it, but it has like subtitles because it's in Polish, I guess.
Yeah.
I may have to check that out.
And they're making a live action. I don't know if you guys talked about that.
Cyberpunk?
Yeah, there was a live action Cyberpunk.
Okay,
yep.
Makes sense.
And they did that Edge Runner show, right?
Yep, they did Edge Runners.
Yeah. I hope Mr. Pondsmith's getting paid handsomely for all this stuff,
I mean, I hope so too. I hope he signed a good contract with all of this because, he's slowly but surely getting a little bit pushed in the background of all of this.
Yeah,
Granted,
which is unfortunately,
Which was cool about it was that when they were first premiering the stuff, he was a part of all the promotion and he helped to flesh out the story of it. So.
Yeah. J Shep goes, I hate to ask, but I wonder if Paris is in documentary. To be honest, he should be. Paris was the face of Cyberpunk for a very long time, You know, remember after the big reveal, who you saw Paris's smiling face coming out of that demo and shit. Like that really kicked that game into high gear. So if he's not in a documentary, that'd be fucking criminal. You know.
Was that in what was 2019?
2018. That was the
2018.
Yeah, because I remember that.
Okay,
was,
so the 18 one is where they gave you the statue. Yeah, right. That was the 18 one.
Yo, Tony,
what up?
Would you say that Paris Lily is the Paul Revere of Cyberpunk?
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
You know, Paul Revere in the American Revolution told everyone that, you know, certain people were coming.
Yeah.
And you know, Paris essentially said, "Yo, Cyberpunk is coming to the whole world."
Yeah, but Paul Revere was like warning people though. You know,
he didn't. Paris didn't warn anybody.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yo, this game is dope."
Yeah, but Paul Revere was like, "Yo, the British are coming. This is fucking lit." You know, he wasn't saying that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is, like, to be honest, if any out of anything, he fell for the rope-a-dope just like everybody else did.
Yep.
You know,
and he admitted it too.
That's,
you know.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, the people that reviewed the game, there's a reason why all those people got the PC version, and I think most, if not all of them, were CD Projekt Red gave them graphics cards and PCs for them to review it on. So they knew what the hell was going on.
Yeah, because the PC version was still remember, I played that game on a GTX 1080. Not the, you know, even back then it wasn't like the top end shit. And even though I had a lot of little problems, it was pretty good. But it's funny, did a whole playthrough right on PC with that graphics card. Again, the bugs annoyed me. They bugged me. I played 4 hours on PlayStation. I was like, I can't do this. It was fucking broken on console, you know?
Yeah.
You know,
that's how you
playing on PC, it's like, you know, it's like drinking a skunky Corona. It's like, okay, like I see what the good stuff is under the skunk, you know? But playing on PlayStation is just like, ugh, this is like shit, you know? Like Sambuca. I mean,
to be honest, and I mean we called this at the time. Like, why are they just giving the PC version? Because the PC version is the most stable version of the game, you know, outside of all the consoles and stuff like that.
Yeah, Jay Shep, there you go. He goes, see, now you are becoming the master now. You know, now you're learning. He goes, now we're back to full circle, the life of the gaming industry. Yes, CD Projekt Red gave specific, I'm just going to say specific influencers the PC version of the game and only let them talk about the first 4 hours of the game, which coincidentally enough are also the most polished version of that game, right? The most polished portion of that game, like you could only talk about this, right? They knew what they were doing. They knew, and this is why I kind of get upset when people go, "Oh, these influencers lied to us." Though they got hoodwinked, just like everybody. They got hoodwinked, you know. Because think about it, when the review codes were going out, right? No, people ask, "Can I get this on PS4? Can I get this on Xbox?" No, we're only giving it out on PC because they knew. Yeah,
they knew exactly what the deal was, and there's two things you could even see. Like again, by looking at the actions of a lot of these companies when they do these things, you can definitely see where the tea leaves are lying, right? They're like, okay, so why are they just giving everybody the PC version? Oh, I know why. Because that's the one that's the most stable and they want to look the best on there. That's why they also decided they wanted to control all the footage that you could show. You could only show the footage that they gave you. You could only show screenshots of the things that they gave you. If that isn't any, a sign as to something that they already knew was there.
Yep.
I mean, to be honest, so I would also say Phantom Liberty. They also tried to control a little bit of narrative on Phantom Liberty too. They didn't allow people to use their own footage unless for any of the early stuff. So
yeah, no, they try to control. So again, this is some companies are worse than others about this, but this happens all the time, man. I remember This one is more confounding than anything, right? And I can actually talk about this as a bunch of years after the fact, right? When I reviewed Death Stranding for PS5, because remember it's a PS5 exclusive at the time, I was specifically told, everybody was, you cannot discuss anything after Chapter 4, right? And what was weird about that is nothing egregious happens after Chapter 4. After Chapter 4, the game kind of follows the same narrative track you've been on and stuff, right? So I found that very strange. And then even stranger, like 6 months later or whatever it was, when the game came out on PC, I reviewed that one, and they were like, this game's under embargo for this date. You can't talk about it. I'm like, I just reviewed the full fucking game. Why does this need to be under embargo for? You know? Like, what are we doing here? So in that case, it's not really about license, just being, because the game industry can be very overprotective about stuff, you know?
Yeah. Also, one of the other things that they would that this has classically happened before, and this goes for the Metal Gear Solid franchise. At least for 5, it was that you couldn't say how long the cinematics were. You were not allowed to talk about.
Yeah, you get some specific restrictions, you know.
But these are the things that if you want to be able to get the game, when they give it to you, you have to follow these rules. So, obviously, you get the more a company has, they try to control a little bit of not a little bit of the narrative as to the way their game is presented. Because to be honest, one thing to understand about game reviews, it's a form of advertising.
Yeah, because that's the problem with like PR. They think game reviewers are just an advertising arm, right? And some are, unfortunately, and the influencers absolutely are, But yeah, no, they very much try to control things. And I'll tell you a story, but I'll tell you a story before that just to bring it all home, right? The last E3 I went to was in 2018. And that year, for whatever reason, I had way more interviews to do than I ever did in ever, right? So I was just like every day, like 6 or 7 interviews with all developers. And I noticed a pattern. There was always a PR person there, right? So on the last day, I asked the PR person, I'm like, are you sitting down with us so to make sure I don't ask anything I'm supposed to? Like, no. I'm here to make sure they don't say something they're not supposed to. The developers, right? And I bring that up to illustrate a point, right? This was before E3. I went to an event for Kingdom Hearts 3, right? And it was just me and the developer. That's it, right? And he never ever said, this is off record, don't mention it. Never said any of that, right? So I'm playing the game and stuff, it was cool. And I asked, how long is this game? He goes, it's about 80 hours long, right? Again, he never said, you cannot say this. So I'm like, okay, cool. Did my write-up, 80 hours long, cool. Nobody really even read the fucking article, right? This is when I was at Geek.com. 2 weeks later, the article starts blowing the fuck up. Right. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
It hit the internet.
It blew the fuck up. And turned out that the biggest Kingdom Hearts fan site saw the article. They saw how long the game was. And, people are like, oh, what the fuck? Why is this game so short? Gamers, right? Like, 80 hours is not enough, So this shit caught on fire, went crazy. Got an email from Square Enix. We need you to delete that, And I'm like, I don't want to delete that. The guy was like, that was on the record. That was on the record, So we talked back and forth and I just reworded. I didn't want to delete it, but I just reworded it. But it shows you how much they want to control things, This is why they always have a PR person in the room with you. Not because of what you may say, it's because of what the developer may say, because developers, they get excited about shit, So yeah, again,
and release information early before they're ready to actually reveal that information.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. This industry's wild, man. It's just so overprotective about stuff more than anything, we can't tell you about the next Call of Duty game. We don't talk about unreleased games. Like, you release Call of Duty games every year. Meanwhile, the movie industry, this movie comes out Friday, it's a hit. Saturday, we're announcing a sequel. like right there on the bat. This game sells 3 million copies in one day. We don't talk about that. Like, but the game ended on a cliffhanger. I remember Mass Effect. They specifically announced that game when it first came out. They specifically said this is a trilogy, right? By the time Part 2 came out, when is 3 going to come out? We don't talk about unreleased games. But you said it's a trilogy. You released Part 1, you released Part 2. What's up with 3? We can't talk about that. The game industry is so fucking weird, dude. It's crazy, you know? You know, anyway, we're done here with the show. I don't know what happened to Brett. I don't know what happened there. He's gone, man.
Oh, you have to
He's like, blah, 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 blah.
His dog, you know. Well, yeah, somebody to go. All right. So that's it, man. Do we have anything to plug?
Carlos,
yeah.
I'm Negan.
No, man,
I am
Negan.
Yo soy Negan. It's I Am Negan is a Walking Dead podcast where we talk about all things the Walking Dead universe. Currently, we are going over the Daryl Dixon show.
Daryl Dixon.
Which the Daryl Dixon show and the Nuke. And the Nuke, where we're talking about the new episodes coming out every Sunday. So make sure to stay tuned on thecoalition.com. That's the Coalition with a K, or the Coalition YouTube, where you can catch I Am Negan. It's a podcast hosted by Adam Vale, Richard Bailey, and myself, where we talk about the Joel Dixon show. It's almost over. It's the French show, Baby Chalamet, Killer Nuns. It's got the works. So it's almost. I think there's 2 episodes left. So make sure to catch up if you haven't, and if you're interested, make sure to check it out. Also, our past episodes go over the previous seasons of The Walking Dead and spinoffs. So if you're interested in that, Fear is almost back as well.
Fear.
Be back for Fear.
Good stuff. Jay Shep says, good show that. Thank you. He also says, Square Enix sent some goons to strong arm you, Tony. Listen, man, I'm going to say this, man. Whenever, like, I retire from, like, you know, being a journalist and shit, I plan to tell some stories, because you guys haven't heard the craziest shit. There's still crazier stories I can tell you guys about dealing with some of these PR folks, but I obviously don't want to burn any bridges, so I'll leave that alone. But there's some crazier ones, man. I'm telling you. And Mighty Nerd says Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge Anniversary Edition comes out on December 15th. Cool. You know, goes back to that question we got last week. You know, if you wait for a special edition, you're probably going to be better off than people buy shit day one, you know? And I'm saying this as a person who buys shit day one, you know?
Shout out to Adam with that thing. What is it? The fighting stick, or it wasn't even fighting stick? It was a
He bought a new
thing.
Hey, what's up? Oh, Brett gave me a peace sign. My headache has become a migraine. Okay, shout out to Brett, man.
Shout out to Brett.
You know, I'm trying to look for Adams's message here now.
Got the goodies.
I got the goodies. Let me see if I can show it. Oh, there's no offensive information here. Check that out, guys. I don't know how well you can see that from the chat. For you guys here in the panel, it looks backward, but to the chat, it'll look fine. Fucking dope, right?
Pretty sick.
Yeah, that's nice.
What's that?
Adams's new fight stick that he posted in the chat.
Oh,
Yeah, the Turtles themed one.
Yeah, man, you scroll up in a little bit. The Guadalupe brothers.
Got the Guadalupe.
Guadalupe. Yeah, see, the fans liked it. I like to plug. Yeah, Barry. I registered for Comic-Con. We'll see what happens. You know. It's kind of funny too, because like before, when I used to register for Comic-Con, you know, like it was like, you know, I'd be like, oh man, like my site only gets like 10,000 like views a month or something. Am I going to get accepted? Got accepted right away. Meanwhile, now I'm not going to say the numbers, but I'm like millions and millions of fucking views, and I haven't gotten a word back yet. New York Comic Con has become very strange lately, man. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had, as of late, I've had issues getting tables. So
yeah, it's weird, you know.
I mean, to be honest, I fully understand why they may not always give me a table. And it has to do with, you know, getting people in the door. If you have a whole room filled with a bunch of people that everybody heard of, you're going to want that. You know, you're not coming to see just Emilio Lopez hanging out at his table. You're going to go see Jim Lee. You're going to go see Greg Capullo or, you know, Eric Larson. You know, those guys. They want to get those guys in the room so that you come in and get to see them. So that's specifically why I understand about that. So, is what it is.
It is what it is.
And I feel like for Tony, it's like, there's a good chance that he may not be able to go into New York Comic Con because there's probably an influencer they probably want to have in there.
Yep. Fuck these journalists, man, with their integrity. Let's get an influencer we could buy off.
Yep.
Fucking influencers are. I'll save that. Save that for the tell-all book, Mighty Nerd. I'll save that for the tell-all book. I'm checking my spam folder right now and shit. No, but you're right, Manny. I may not get in, even though literally I'm like, I'm on a site right now that it's like millions and millions and millions of fucking clicks a month. It
also in the insight. It also depends. It not only depends on clicks, but it also depends on their fan base too. If their fan base, if it obviously yes, tech probably does cross over.
We literally just had the best of the fucking Toy Fair awards. So I'm like,
Toy Fair?
Yeah, like we do. That's just the Javits Center too, So it's like, come on, guys. Like, there's crossover there. Yeah, one of our writers, she went to Javits Center, covered the toy show, and had a big awards thing for it. Gave best toys of the Toy Fair. So it's like the crossover's there. It's like, and it's not just tech. We do a bunch of shit. So, but whatever. I tried. Not seeing Eric Larson. If you paid me, Eric Larson's a character, man.
No, Eric Larson's cool.
Yeah, I've heard some stories about that guy, though. Anyway, let's start wrapping up, man. So make sure you follow Throwdown on Twitch and Twitter. Join the Discord where the conversations and the rumors are always popping. You can also find us on any podcast app by searching for Throwdown Show. That's 2 words, Throwdown Show. Throwdownshow.com to listen to past episodes. And if you have been watching us on the YouTubes and enjoyed the videos, make sure you hit like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified of when our premieres go live. Links to everything down below. Once again, I was your host, Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
See you next time.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
Peace out.
And Brian Majoma.
Zombies in Star Wars. Very self-referential, I guess.
Yeah, because the franchise itself is a zombie.
Oh,
man. I heard that Ahsoka is not that good, man.
I could have told you that, but I've been watching it.
Yeah, I haven't watched it either, but I'm like, because after Obi-Wan and fucking, whatever, the last 2 shows, I'm like, okay, yeah.
Boba Fett.
Oh, Boba Fett. Obi-Wan and Mandalorian season 3. I was like, okay, Tony, you back off. Just like you did with the movies, Presty says Ahsoka was great. Finale was trash. Man. J Shep goes, nothing is good for you. Yeah, I like some stuff. It's just I don't like a lot of this horse shit they're trying to give us now. I was talking to my friend Jeffrey the other day about this. He was like, Tony, is there anything that gives you joy, pure joy that you never complain about, like heavy metal? That shit, there's never a time I'm like, I don't want to listen to this shit. This is like, it always gets me every time, That's like the only thing, because movies are largely trash now. Comics are absolute fucking trash now, Video games are like, this year's good. Don't get me wrong, this year's good, but it's just a lot of bullshit. Godzilla, you already know, Presty. I am hyped as fuck for Godzilla -1. So there you go, J-Ship. I do like shit, but I will be in that fucking theater like a kid watching that fucking Godzilla movie, So I'm ready for that, man. So there's still some good stuff, but most things in life are trash, and they're even more trash nowadays, because of these talentless fucking hacks who've infiltrated all entertainment. But I'm not going to rant about that on this show. This is a video game show.
You already did.
I could have won more, Anyway, we'll see you on Sunday, people. Later.
Latest.
Latest.